There we go. There we go. Okay. The BlackRoom, y'all. Let's go. I already got it teed up, man. We good to go. This gonna be a good one. Everybody been talking about how crazy this league is, man. Everybody said how good the league is. Everybody said this is the place to be. This is the best teams in the country. All right, we got the man in the building. Sean Slippy Mensah, the man himself, the guy who put it all together. Let's introduce him. Big round of applause at home. Let's go. Got the man in the
Word. What's good? What's good?
What's going on with you? So I had a chance to kind of talk to him before we went live, man, and I said like, dude still look like he could play. You know what I'm saying? So he's staring at his pass right now. So go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, couple minutes, just let the people know who you are, where you come from, and why you here.
Yeah. So obviously everybody calls me Slip, Sean Slippy Mensah. New Jersey dude. I've been born and raised in Jersey. I started playing semi-pro football in like 04, 05 out of like the Delran, Jersey area. I played for teams like the Conchi Steelers, who won back-to-back chips. I was there. Played for the Generals in 06. We were a nationally ranked team. Played for Delco Cowboys, the South Jersey Phoenix, Atlantic City Devils. I was the head coach and owner of the Nation, also known as the Delco Raiders. Let me not flip up. So yeah, I've played, I've coached, I've owned, and now the next step in kind of giving back to the game and the people around here was to start something of my own and kind of take it to the next level and change. Our mantra, and we stand on this, is we want to change the culture. That is our main focus.
Heard you. So I mean that leads us right into it. Let's jump right into it. The inception, of the Den MLF. So, just tell us about how the Den became a reality. Like, what started that idea? What made you say, I want to put a league together, and like, just how did it all come to you?
So what's funny is the same way I became a guy that was running a team, I kind of became a guy running a league. So when I took over so I played for the Delco Cowboys. The owner stepped down. I stepped up as the head coach owner. I don't want to say it was similar, but it was the same kind of mentality when we started the Den. It was more out of necessity because something needed to be done and it just wasn't getting done the way that I thought it could be done. So I started talking to people that I'm cool with, that I'm close with. I started, throwing the ideas around. Everybody was game. And I just want to give a big shout out to my commissioners, because I know a lot of people, when they say the Den, they're like, oh, Slip's killing it. Like my commissioners, my front office team, they're big. They're big in, why we're accepted the way we are. At least at the owner level. Like some of the players might not know him because of their age, but Steve Menerchia is a MVP, ex-MVP Defensive Player of the Year guy. Jeff Campbell, MVP. Hoss Bivens, well-known champion linebacker, has been balling. Kenny Samuels, stamp running back, been doing it forever. And then my man, Eric Johansson. Most people don't know him, but he played with me, 06 Generals. Dude played for Virginia Tech. So like all the guys in my front office camp are well-respected football dudes. So really, it was out of necessity and knowing that we could do better than what was out there now. No offense to anybody else, that was really the why and the how.
Heard you. So, when did it actually start to become a reality? Like, when did the idea turn into a real product?
So, but what's funny is I would talk to people and tell them like, hey, I have an idea of starting something. And I wouldn't even need to pitch them the idea yet. It was just because they knew me and how I did business. A lot of these coaches and owners, because remember, I'm peers with these guys. So I'm coaching against them. We're talking. They know who I am, how I move. They were like, yo, if you start something, let me know. We in. Like, I know a lot of people have this perception that, we went out and we took a bunch of teams from here and there. I really just told people, I'm starting something. This is how I think it should be run. And based off of what I told them and what they knew about me, they was like, we want in. And
Yeah, so I mean, that was my next question was like, what was the challenge, you know, to get in some of these I mean, you got the top programs. I remember a year ago playing in the IFA and all the talk, the rave was the unit. The unit was killing it. They was at the top. And then there was talks of the herd, and out of nowhere, the Jaguars turned it around and they started
won the
winning
chip.
back-to-back games and
Yeah.
ended up winning a chip. And like the whole talk in the Northeast was about those teams and what was happening. Everybody knows the Knowles, you know what I'm saying? Everybody knows who Dave Legree is. Central Penn has had great teams for years, from the Piranhas now to Hitmen. I think of the Raiders, the Red Raiders, or whatever out there. How did you get all of these programs to agree to be in the same spot at the same time and shoot? Like the Knowles, they said they'd never play in the spring, and somehow you got them to do it. So talk about that.
Yeah, so I'll talk about the nose last, but everyone else, like people have to understand, is that this was not like an overnight thing. Like the league's inception and progression and everything may have been overnight, but like the herd, I played against them. I have relationships with I played against the Spartans, which was kind of like one of the like feeder programs, because it was like Spartans kind of transitioned into the unit. The unit branched out into two entities, which became the unit and the herd. So I have coaching slash playing against some of these dudes, relationships that were built over years. So like when I come to these guys and I talk, and I try to tell people all the time, is the reason why the Den is working is because there's relationships where we can get heated at each other, but we know our core values and how we're really built. So, it's like with your boy, you argue, but afterwards, like, all right, cool. All right, we pass that. So when we talk business, everyone's good business. I'm saying right now, some of the people in the league, in other leagues, they were like, oh, these guys don't do X, don't do Y. We had everybody pay, do what they're supposed to. I collect ref fees on a weekly basis. Everybody takes care of it. So the real reason that I was able to do this is because the relationships that you're seeing were already there. And all I had to do was just activate the league and give everybody a place. Like it was on like some real, like, without sounding corny, like some Dreams of Field type vibes, where it was like, if you build it, they're going to come. Like all I did was build something that I thought people really wanted. They saw that and they came to that.
Dog, that's awesome. So like let's transition in. Let's talk about the future, because this is the inaugural season, and in my opinion, it was a huge success. You know what I'm saying? We'll get your opinion on that in a second, but just talk to us a little bit about like, I mean, first things first, we've seen these great, crazy leagues come together with all these great teams, and then we see them not be able to put another product together the very next year. So, are you bringing the league back? And if you do, how are you going to ensure that it stays around for the long run?
So I saw something earlier today, and it's the truest thing ever, is that if you're doing something great and you're doing it for the money, you're probably not going to be successful. You have to have a cause, a reason, the why that really drives you. And like, I genuinely care about the players in my league. Like, I make rules that some owners and are like, I don't really know. They're like, all right, your league slip, but I protect my owners just like I protect my players and vice versa. So my why drives me to where I don't even go into this with oh well, next year I'm not going to do this, or I'm going to be done this time. Like, this is just part of my semi-pro minor league football, I should say. I'm sorry, that's a taboo. We don't say semi-pro.
Thank you.
Minor league football. So that's a big part of this. Is a part of my minor league progression. So expansion, to answer your question. So like, I got teams from different states reaching out to me now. I know there's some teams from Baltimore reached out, some teams from New York that have showed interest. So now I also, one of the things that really makes us unique, I think, is the stats, the film, some of the other intricacies, like having a commissioner at every game. I've talked to guys that agree, some guys that don't agree, but our staple is our staple. So to answer your question, expansion is 1000% on the radar, but we need to make sure as a league that we expand at a rate where we can maintain our standards and keep doing it at the level we're doing or better. So as long as that's the case, I'm never going to not be into expanding. Now, with that said, I'm not really looking to turn into the next GDFA. I mean, I know people have said to me, like, oh, you could be the next GDFA. I'm like, whoa, like Charles and his product is like up there. So like I respect, the world out of what they do. I'm trying to build something great locally. And then from there, if it grows and expands, cool. But I don't want to get too big for my britches too quick though. But
Right, heard you, heard you.
yeah.
So I mean, piggybacking on that, where do you see the Den? And we're gonna break it up. Where do you see the Den realistically next year? What does it look like? What do you
So
see it looking
yeah.
like in 5 years? And then what do you see it looking like in 10?
Uh I could see it realistically being 14, maybe 16 max teams next year. If everybody that is showing interest follows through and they passed our protocol and all that. I would love see like there's guys like you got guys like Spin who's up in New York, and then
Mhm.
some other guys down in Baltimore that I'm cool with that I know that might be done doing what they're doing and want to transition. I only enter an area if I have a representative that can represent our brand at the level that we want to do it in that area. Like I can't be in Baltimore, Connecticut, New York every weekend. So I need to have guys I trust. And that's why I said a big part of our success is our front office commissioners and our guys because they go out there and they don't need to be me. They just need to represent the brand the way that I would represent it.
Right.
And so to answer your question is as long as I have people in these areas which I have kind of lined up and that pans out, I could easily see us being a 5 to 6 state team league next year. I think that's a realistic goal, and then building off of that.
So does the schedule stay the same as far as length if you expand in teams?
Yeah, and that's the one downside, but it's the necessity because you can't have a league that lasts forever. Like we can't have like a 17 game NFL schedule. But one thing I loved about the schedule this year is that everyone played everyone. In a
Yep.
lot of these leagues, you see over time certain teams get buddy buddy with the commissioner or the owner, and they get favorable schedules
Mhm.
and they get a little funny money. One thing with us, everybody got the equal smoke. Everybody got the same shot at everybody. Now, we had like 1 or 2 games that couldn't happen because of XYZ. That's a learning, that's on us year one, growing pains. But for the most part, in my opinion, the games that needed to happen that were huge happened. Like there was nobody that was like it wasn't like Knowles got to the postseason without playing the Owls, the Hitmen, the Herd, all these guys got a shot at each other. So, this postseason is going to be epic. I'm really
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
we definitely gonna talk about the postseason. I think, it's kind of befitting because the two scenarios where some funny stuff happened, where you had inclement weather and then you had, a business situation that kind of prevented the game. It wasn't pivotal. Like it wasn't the Knowles Hitman game where it was like,
Right.
oh man, this is pivotal. It wasn't the unit versus the herd game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was the kind of games where if they were missed in the long run, they didn't mean too much. You know what I'm saying? I know
Right.
I know the people at the bottom feel like, it was a chance for us, but like, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? For
Yeah.
me, the league got through an entire season of football pretty much unscathed in its first year. And you talking about huge travel distances. You
Yeah.
talking about, you talking about teams with lots of double duty players. I mean, in every state, guys are playing as much as they can. And we
Yeah.
understand why that is. You know what I'm saying? But the product that was put out was just amazing. And we got tape at every game. You know what I'm saying?
Everything.
We have refs at every game. You know what I'm saying? The game started on time. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like for me, it was a successful season. So what about 5 years from now? Like, how do you see this? I know you said expansion. I see where you're going already, but what do you think realistically 5 years from now? You looking at your product saying like, damn, I did this.
Yeah. So a lot of leagues and owners, I think that their goal when they look at progress as a quantity type thing, like how many states do you encompass? How many teams do you have? Once I get to a certain size, league wise, I'm now focused solely on the quality of the league. So for me, and I've said this from day one, my goal is the Den has to become a business. It is now, but I mean, I really like a profitable business that makes sense, that can bring in revenue, that it can now reinvest into itself to be self sustaining and growing. So the only way that happens is for us to be a feeder program to next level leagues. So, like I've said this, and my guys know, if I can put one, two guys a year into the XFL, into the USFL, now these leagues look at us and they go, okay, we need to keep our eyes on the Den teams because they have people that can help us. And when that becomes the case, the same way you have like a AAA team is subsidized. Like they're not funded, but they're subsidized by whoever their major league head is. So, in my opinion, at this level, that's your best chance to make something profitable. Like, let's be real. You're never going to really get a huge crowd at any of these games. The technology for streaming has not got to the point where you can police it and charge and really make it profitable where like enough people are going to do it. So you're really only, and the only wise avenue and smart business move is to make your league enticing as a feeder league for other bigger leagues that actually do pay. Like I got, sir, I saw the Herd got a guy, even if, and it doesn't even need to be professional leagues. If you're putting guys in college,
Yeah.
now people are like, oh, okay. Now you get advertisement, you get investors and people that want to, chip in and they want to, take advantage. And that's what, like, I'm very big. A lot of stuff I do, I'm like, I put it on the league website. Like I know a lot of guys, they have the lounges, they love the lounges. I try to put everything out on the league website first and make people go there to get it. Like, oh, you got the link for the game? Yeah, sure, it's on the league website. So now, year one, we're up to 30,000 visitors on our main page. So now when investors come and like in 1 year, you had 30,000 people that came to your page. Okay, now we want our advertisements on your main page. And that's another way we can start making, the league make sense by making dollars.
And that's a huge way to make it profitable. Huge.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing is everything. All right, so we're gonna wrap up this section with what would be the perfect league in your opinion? Like just give us your utopia league.
So a utopia league, in my opinion, is a league with the perfect amount of teams where there's two evenly matched conferences, where there's maybe one or two big crossover games that everybody wants to see, like the must-sees. There's a legit playoff bracket, conference championships. There is a championship game, all games. Now, here, this is going to sound crazy to people because we're not there yet, and it's like next level. I would like to have the ability to have all games streamed, not just game of the week, all games streamed, stats, all of that, and to have post-season combines where guys from the USFL and XFL are sending reps to come watch, maybe schools, stuff like that, where we're holding championship games at colleges like Millersville, like we were just at for the Hitmen.
Beautiful.
And we're getting right. That's and there's it's still not perfect, but at this level, if you can achieve that where your visibility is there and your productivity in the marketing where you can stream all of your games, you have legit stats, you have, and like we already talked with, we have for next year, we have our graphic guy. A lot of the stuff you see me doing year one, I did it myself, just trying to keep it moving, but I try. But I got a guy for next year that's going to make flyers for all the games and stuff, and just making everything look more presentable and more professional. So that would be the perfect league.
I agree. A lot of the things that you said it made me smile, man. We talk about it all the time. All right, so let's get to the next section. We're just gonna talk about, the season. We're gonna recap everything and talk about the playoffs. So let's run it back real quick. First day, Then day, it was a huge announcement. Everybody was excited about it. I tuned in. I watched every single game from start to finish. The weather sucked. It sucked all year. So it is what it is. Something that
Right.
you gotta deal with when you play an outdoor sport. But
Got to.
for you, like, I mentioned before we even got on the live that, I saw your interview. I thought it was amazing. I think
Appreciate it.
everything about the day, from the broadcasting to the visuals to the field, everybody being in one place, I thought it was all amazing. How do you feel it went?
It went good. Like I said, there's always going to be hiccups, and I never went into this thinking that Den Day, year one, anything for that matter, was going to be, perfect. But success has to be measured in, did you do what you said you were going to do? One, and two, anything that went wrong, did you learn from that? Like, it's one thing, and this is kind of what bothered me about some of the other situations that were out there. And I'm not trying to come at anybody. I'm just trying to speak specifically about the business and the football. Is that there would be mistakes, and that's part of the game. But there was nothing really done to do better next time. Like, the same mistakes were getting made. So if you ask me if I think year one or Den Day was a success, I would say yes, because everything that didn't go the way that we would have liked it, we took a step back, we looked at it, we said, all right, cool. Next time we got to make sure we do X, Y, Z, and we're going to make sure we implement those things. So the real test of the success of year one is the implementation of those fixes year two, to be real. So,
All right.
and real quick, you mentioned something. I want to make sure I don't forget, my man. A big part of this success or this growth that we've had is because of HSG Network and your guy Howard. Like,
Yeah.
he's our stat guy, film. He helps me with the website. So, big shout out and appreciation to him, because that's, a lot of people have had Howard over the years. Like, it's not like he's a new entity. Like, he's stamped. Everybody from Maine to Florida has seen some of his work. It's just, I saw because he actually did all of our games when I ran my team. But I saw what he could do, and I was like, well, could you do this at a league level? And he was like, well, yeah. Not everybody wanted to pay the bill.
Right.
And you listen, everybody saw it. We even ran into a tough little speed bump towards the end where it was like, well, dang, this is getting expensive, and a real testament. And it really took me back, and I don't want to cut us off our thing, but the way that people saw that the league hit a speed bump and they stepped up to make sure that everything went smooth was huge. It was huge. So, that really told us that we're doing things in the right way. And that was another indication that we were doing it successfully, I guess is how you would say that.
Yeah, and I'm glad because with social media, I mean, we see it ruin people at the highest of levels. When you get those negative comments and it starts flooding in, and oh my God, Slip didn't pay his bill. What? You know what I'm saying? It can snowball effect. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
seriously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And I didn't run from any of it. Like, I was like, I'll be real with you. Even my wife was like, "Oh man, I don't like that that's out there." And I said, "Babe, no. Like, I can't stand on a platform that says we want transparency, and then as soon as I get rough times, like, yo, no, don't say nothing, don't say nothing." Like,
Right.
no, this is what the league budgeted for X, and I'll be completely honest. The speed bump we ran into is because year one, I thought, as personally as a businessman, if we put up numbers on the board, like we got those visitors, we did Den Day, we proved people want to see it, that more people would want to jump on year one. And what I learned the hard way, and I guess my advice or my insight that I would give to anybody trying to start their own thing, is that year one, people want to see you prove it first. Like, they don't care how good you start off. They want to see it finish and be good. And then they want to buy in. Like, the amount of people that have already said year two that they want to buy in and vet it, we're going to be fine. And that's why I know we're definitely coming back, and we're going to come back even stronger, is because, we made it this far. Like, Howard is paid up in full. He's paid in full. His money is already set aside for the rest of the playoffs. Championship money is set aside. Trophies are being made as we speak. We got plaques for all the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Lineman of the Year. We got plaques made. Like, everything is already paid for and moving. So, we definitely got back on our feet. We hit, like I said, it was a speed bump, and you have to take that in stride.
So aside from that, what other, things that could have gone better but didn't? What are some of the pieces that you said, I wish we would have did this, or I wish that could have happened, or you know what, next year we're gonna do this a little differently.
Yeah, I think the speed bump that the Hitmen, or not the Hitmen, the Seminoles ran into, with the incident and everything that kind of transpired after that, I feel like it could have been prevented by us having a protocol. Now, we put the protocol in afterwards, but I think if we had had a couple more things in place, we could have avoided that, which kind of trickled into other things. But we were able to kind of stop it. There was a crew out of like the Hitman area, a ref crew that kind of came down and did the Seminoles versus Owls game, which was the next following game after the incident that actually occurred. And once we got that point, and once we showed everybody, listen, this was the isolated incident with an isolated individual. We handled it. We moved forward. It's good. So I think that was big for the league in getting back on his feet, because had that game not happened, now you're like, oh, okay, well, now you got multiple games not played against one of the top tier teams in the league, and it starts affecting a whole lot of other stuff, and it would have been a domino effect. So, I think that having the protocol to even stop that before it even became a speed bump would have been how I would have preferred to see it happen, I guess, to answer your question.
And listen, man, it's the BlackRoom. I'm gonna call a spade a spade. So for all the people at home, a player on one of the biggest names in minor league football decided, screw it all and just snuff the ref. You know what I'm saying? So
So
it's
a
a
lot
big
of
deal.
people, yeah. So out of respect for the organization, and even as crazy as it sounds for the individual, because even though he did wrong, he still has his own rights and his own, things that he's due as a man. And we didn't want to, slander him. And I even, because I, just how you said, snuffed him. I originally, when I got the call, they said that he dropped him. And then when I went back, and then even to be honest with you, even today, even my apology video that I did publicly, it wasn't all the way even on point. Because I'll be honest with you, when I saw the video, I was like, there's absolutely no room for this at the level we are and what we're trying to do. But it was definitely portrayed in a crazier light than it really was. But at the end of the day, you cannot have any physical altercations with refs. So no matter how minuscule it was or minor it may have seemed, it was still a no-go. So, when we and again, I don't like to say anything about other leagues or try to make it seem like we're above them. Like I really come off as a proud dude, not a condescending guy. But this player had incidents before, and I think that it wasn't handled the way that I would have handled it. I'm not going to say it was handled wrong. It was just handled different. And I think that one of the things that we did that allowed us to get past it as quickly as we did is I didn't, dance around the issue to keep it PG-13. We made a distinct decision. The team also supported the league and made their own decision even before the league gave its ruling and, removed the players. So I know people still have their feelings about the Seminoles. Like you said, we in the BlackRoom, they got to wear that until they show consistently that they can do what they're doing now. But I think that's a big reason why they came here. Like you said before, like they had never done spring except the TV league, which, obviously there were incentives, and that,
It
right,
wasn't the same. I was in the TV league.
right,
It wasn't the same competition level. It was
right,
more
right. It was
TV.
different. And I'm not trying to come at that, but I'm just saying, I think a big, like, they were at a point in their career as an organization where I think other teams were getting a little bit frustrated because they weren't winning, and they were getting frustrated with some of the incidents that were happening too frequently. So, I guess I consider the Den like their last chance and they're taking it and they're doing it. Like, what, it wasn't without incident, but like I said, we handled the incident, we got past it, and here we are, playoffs starting. We're good. All the refs are on deck. I don't have any issues. Games scheduled. We know the bracket, and they're right there, and it's theirs. It's theirs to lose right now, and everybody knows that. There's no, it's a known thing. I mean, everybody's up for the challenge. That's what I love. Like, there's no teams in the league that have come to me and they're like, oh man, we don't like these guys. We want them going next year. Like, they love the guys around here. Love the comp. They want that smoke. They signed up for that, and that's why I love all the teams in the league, because they're real men about it. Like, they're not hiding. They're not in the bushes. They're right out. Even the Kings. Like, I know the Kings. The season got short for them. Yeah, but the King. I talked to Tony, and he was like, "Yo, listen, these dudes got heart." So I know people look at the record and they want to. They're gonna make their jokes and whatever. The Kings didn't back down. They were, they wanted to finish that game too. A lot of people and whatever might not have, and they wanted that smoke. So
Yeah. I mean, listen, kudos to the Knowles and kudos to the Den for handling that situation the way that they did, because a few weeks back, I really put out like a hey, we gotta do better message on my show, because it was getting to the point where refs were literally just saying like, no, we're not showing up. And if we show up, you got to pay us a ridiculous sum of money,
yeah,
because we're putting our safety on the line. And it starts at the top. So whatever the biggest, baddest league is with the biggest, baddest teams, if they can't do it right, there's no fix to the solution. And the fact that you guys got everything back on track, to me, shows that there's a way forward. So kudos to not just you guys, but also to the Seminoles for doing what they did. So let's talk about the playoffs really quick, because goddamn, listen, at a point in time, the Herd was the team. They was on a roll. They was winning. I mean, it was up there. And then the Knowles did what they did, and holy cow! So let's talk about it.
So I say this: the Herd situation looks different from the outside than I think it really is. A lot of people don't realize. I'm pretty sure they played the Tide the week before.
Yep.
That Tide game they lost. Their starting quarterback, he had a rough start, but he got hurt in that game. Their quarterback was the MVP frontrunner. Listen, ahead of G Block at the time he got hurt. So this guy, he had just beat the Owls. They were 4-0. Yep. They were good money. They lost their quarterback. They ran into a stretch of, like, you got to look who they played when he went down too. You had the Tide, who are a tough team in any situation. Now you have your quarterback go down, crappy weather situation, and they're kind of in like a fight for their lives kind of situation. So they're balling. You got the Seminoles, undefeated regular season. You got the Hitmen. Then who was it after that?
The Unit, right?
No, they'd already played the Unit. Then that might have been the Jackals after. I know they had a tough 3 games. Yeah, so like they played the toughest part of their schedule without their leader.
I'm looking at it now. I'm sorry. It was the Tide lost, the Knowles lost, the Hitmen lost, and then they got the forfeit against the Kings, and now they got the Jackals coming up.
Right. So no, they just played the Jackals. They played them week 9, and now they're playing them again.
It hasn't updated. Hold on, let me.
Yeah.
Update that. There you go.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, for the people at home, let's see if we could get that on the board. But keep going.
Yeah, you good. So I don't. We're not the league to make excuses. You got to win. Like, nobody wants to hear somebody was missing or whatever. They don't want to hear that. You got next man up, and Mark Taylor is no bump. And they had another kid. I forget his name. I wish I knew it off the top of my head. But they have another young quarterback out there too, and he did good. He just beat the Jackals, so he's doing his thing. But I genuinely believe that if the Herd's quarterback can come back healthy, which from what I heard he may be, I don't like to tip the scale with any of that stuff, but I think they could make a run. They could make a run. So that's
we know that the hardest thing to do in football is to beat a team twice, but it's even harder to beat them twice in a row.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they got home field advantage this time. They was at the Jackals. Now that they
Yeah.
get to be at home in the comfort of their own facility, but still, once you give up the element of surprise, man, it gets difficult.
Yeah, I don't even think they surprised the Jackals as much as the Jackals were dealing with their own kind of health issues. And I know coach owner Zoe, he's a proud dude. He ain't laying down, and he's probably coming like a pissed off SOB for round two. And you talking about a team that just came off a championship last spring. So, he knows how to get it done in the playoffs. So that's going to be a great game. And then, just like you said, beating the team twice and with a lot of, I don't want to call it animosity, but there's a lot of tension and good football tension in that unit Owls game too. I know the unit, they're wearing that 40 points they gave up. Trust me, those dudes, they want to get that, they want to, wipe that from history like it never happened with a win over them, because you know how it goes. He who laughs loudest laughs last.
Yep.
So, whoever wins that game is really going to have the bragging rights, the trash talking for the off season,
Yeah, when I did my little exercise on what an NFL league would look like, and I came up with the division, I realized all of a sudden, damn, that one area got a lot of talent in it, boy.
Yeah.
That's a tough division to live in, man. So
Yeah.
if you're the best team in that area, you definitely got the talking power. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's fun. I saw somebody posted earlier. They were like, "Oh, well, Jersey's so spread out, and New York really has one powerhouse." Now, that's not really true, but I get the perception. But Jersey is so wide of an area. Like New York is very, very tight. Now you have upstate New York, but like you could probably get to like any point, like in like a reasonable point without the crazy traffic, of course, in like an hour and a half in New York. Whereas like Jersey, like if you go from like Orange, New Jersey to like,
Neptune or something.
Wherever,
Yeah.
that might be an hour and a half, 2 hour trip all highways. So like you covering some distance. So, there's a lot of teams, but I still don't think that combining teams to have like a super team or anything is really the answer for Jersey. I think that guys just really have to raise the bar and their expectations for their program. And I think that year one for the Den is definitely going to do that for everybody.
I feel you. So tell me this. Do you have a prediction? I mean, I know you're a commissioner, but outside of being a commissioner, just as a football guy, what's your prediction for, the final two? Let's put it that way. What do you think the final two would be? You can even give me a couple scenarios.
That's cool. Trust me, I don't. So I think the biggest question mark is who is going to make the biggest adjustments. The Seminoles are in a position where I don't think they really have to adjust. So to say that they would be in the Final Four is not really like some big thing to say. I think the Owls lost to the Hitmen, as crazy as it sounds, is probably one of the best things that could have happened to them going into the playoffs, because they were like one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team. And so that kind of humbled them and brought them back. And I know that Lester Cream has been running the Owls for years and always seems to find himself in the Final Four. So I would say the Owls and the Seminoles are not stamped, but they're two teams that, would be a safe bet. Now, you got like Dave LeGree is, he's as advertised. He had a rough start to the season. He was definitely not playing well, and he still has times, like even in the Owls game, where I feel like his mechanics aren't what they were in the past when I saw him with the Rebels. But he's one of those guys, if he turns it on and gets into like playoff mode for him with that line that they got on both sides of the ball and the coaching staff, I'm not betting against them, so you got them. But then like even outside of that, like the Jackals, ex-Jaguars, championship caliber team, the unit just made it to the championship last spring. So they know what it takes to get there. The Herd, like I said, they're getting their quarterback back. They're in the mix. They're right there. So I think I would, like, if somebody asked me the three, obviously I think that the Seminoles, the Owls, and the Hitmen are favorites, not locks, but favorites. But those other 3 teams are,
Yeah.
I would not want to play them and take them lightly. I'll say that because like Ronald Butler, you kick the ball to him twice and you sleeping, you be like, hold up, man. All you're gonna see is like dreads running by you real quick. So, what happened? Like, so like every team has the ability to make it big. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a nice little stretch. It's definitely not gonna be a boring playoff. I can tell you that.
No, it's gonna be exciting, that's for sure. And I called it. I said the Owls was my favorite team, my dark horse team about 4 weeks ago. I said, y'all don't understand. I went up against that organization before they became what they are today. They were a much different program when I played them, and they was hard to beat then.
Who were you with when you played them?
I was with the Hudson Valley Mountaineers when they
Oh
was
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I went up against them twice back to back in they place on that dirty, ditchy baseball field. But listen, that's where the kids grow up playing, and that's where they play their whole lives. So I understand it. You know what I'm saying? And it's tough to beat them, and they look so much better now than they did when I played them then. So
Yeah.
I knew. I'm like, listen, this is a team that if you sleep on them, and a 2-point loss to the Hitmen is not like, bro, that game could go.
Yeah. And what's crazy is if you look now, I haven't seen the stats yet, but if you were like, I was there, and the Hitmen had momentum where they had certain situations where they could have pulled away, but talent, coaching, resiliency, that between Lester Cream, Butchie Dover, their OC, who's been around with him for years, that program just finds a way that if you make a mistake, they are going to put themselves in a situation. And I'm not gonna lie, when they were driving on that last drive, man, I was having like I played.
I thought it was over.
You might not notice. When I played for the Delco Cowboys. We played them twice in the same year. Once in the regular season, once in the playoffs. They beat us both times on last minute drives with like less than a minute left. So I'm seeing them drive, and I'm just like, oh man, like Lester about to do it again. And like you can't, when someone's been doing it that consistently for so long, you can't say he's lucky. Like he didn't just get inducted into the coaches or the minor league football Hall of Fame because he was lucky. Big shout out to him and Coach Ron Kerr, who got inducted too. Like these guys, are seasoned vets. Like they've played each other for years with CPP and the Lynx back in the day. So yeah. I knew that this game. Oh snap! Oh, what you didn't pay your bill? Why you oh no, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I knew it was going to be a good ending, and it didn't let me down. Or anyways.
So let's change gears for a second now.
Okay.
On the show, we came up with the idea, and I'm not gonna lie, I got it from Chris Pierre from the Nose. I was like, why don't we start giving actual ratings? You know what I'm saying? Why don't we rate the teams? It'd just be fun.
Wow.
We started giving out these Madden ratings. I'm trying to see if I could pull them up real quick. Because I just want your opinion. So
right.
In that regard, like we understand who the weakest team was in the league, but that brings up a good question, because a lot of people would look at the Den and say, "Oh, the AC Kings couldn't win a game. They must be terrible." You know what I'm saying? And even like a lot of people want me to explain my rankings sometimes. Even in my rankings, I have them really low. But if you ask me my honest opinion, even though I have them really low, it's simply because they 0-8.
Yeah, I understand.
For the longest time, they were 0-5, and I still had them above teams that had 2 wins because
because they were the competition they were playing.
Exactly.
The Kings situation only looks like it does, and they're aware of this. Is they just didn't put it together on offense in time. Their defense, like Javi, everybody knows him. He was on the top 100 in the MLF. He's been around. He played for me with the Nation. He was just on the unit, played in the championship. So, and they had a bunch of other guys from the Knights who were a Final Four team in the spring league around here too before. So, defensively, they were on par with some of the other, I would say, mid-tier teams, like the Tide, the Unit, some of these guys that are like right there, like the Jackals. But the difference is those other teams had offensive weapons and at least a quarterback situation that was stable enough to put up points consistently. So and that's at this level, if your quarterback play isn't where it needs to be, it's real hard to really make a push and to win, even the games you should win, to be honest with you.
Listen, I mean, when you step up in competition, the further up the competition ladder you go, the tighter the gap becomes with the amount of mistakes that you can make. And that's the real barometer. Like, people don't understand this. They look at the NFL and they be like, oh, back when the Browns was terrible. Oh, the Browns are so bad, and a college team could beat those guys. And I'm like,
it sound good until you put them out there. And
yeah,
then the Browns beat them like 72 to like 6. And then you're like, whoa, I'm not gonna lie. In hindsight, see, I don't like this because I'm always one of those guys, and even in real life, I don't look down at people for motivation. I look up for motivation. So like, I want to look at the guys that are doing things in life that I want to have. Like, run up business, do this, have that, and I don't like compare myself where I'm like, oh man, my life sucks. I use it as motivation. Like, all right, I got to go step up. But with that said, had I scheduled like a crossover game or something like that mid-season with some of these lower, ranked teams in the Den, I think it would have gave people a lot of perspective. Like, I don't want to name other teams specifically, but I know for a fact, watching some of the football I watch, that if I gave the Kings a game against some of these other teams that had similar records to them in other leagues, they would have won
a lot to a little.
Right.
A lot to a little. You would have had to take the Kings and put them up against, some of the more competitive teams in the
like mid-tier in another league.
Yeah. I think, the first team that came to my mind, like the Kings probably would be a good matchup for like the Wolfpack, the Empire State Wolfpack.
Oh, that's funny. I was just looking at them and I saw some of their film, but even them, and shout out to them because I educate myself. They just had a game with the Green Wave, I think it was, and they were winning that game when I was watching.
Yeah.
They were driving, and I was like, oh, okay, this is spicy.
Another gritty team that's well coached. It just seems like they play simple old school football, and it's like that grind you down round after round, and the next thing you know, all the time is gone, and it's like 7-0, and they driving, and it's like, yo, how the hell are they?
Right, like whoa, like hold up, time out, okay?
Yeah,
I get you.
So right here, I pulled it up on the screen. We started doing the Madden ratings. I got real fancy with this. I'm like living in a dream world, trying to see if we can spark some ideas.
I see you moving. Yeah, I see
you. So you'll see. I mean, we were only able to get through, the Knowles Kings, Owls Militia, and then this weekend that just passed. I haven't updated this yet, but we got through another couple of teams. Let me see if I can go through. Who else did we get? So we did the Herd, we did the Owls, the Unit, and the Jackals. So the Knowles, obviously, we got them. The way that it reads is the overall is first, and then offense, defense. We got the Knowles at 99 right now until somebody proves they can beat them in the regular season. You know what I'm saying? And we understand how this whole like nationals things work, where the Knowles might be going up against a super team. You know what I'm saying? You never really know if that's the real team that they have during the season. What we do know is that during the regular season, that team hasn't lost yet in a long time.
In 5 years, I think I saw Skip say.
Yeah. Now the Philly Kings out of the NEAFL, I think they're a good team. You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen enough tape on them, but just going back on a record, like their offense is electric, and defensively, they haven't really let up any points. So until they play another team that puts a chink in that, I will say that league right now is hard to. It's like hard to get a barometer on it.
Yeah, out of respect for the history and the back, I'll just say this. I'll say I've played against the Kings both as a player in the IFA and in we did a scrimmage against them when we were getting ready for the LAL with the Ducks. They're a well-run organization. They got a good group of guys. They ball, and they're no slouches. I can't speak to record rating, really, any of that. I can just say that I know that they earned whatever they have, and hats off to them, and they got the chip coming up this weekend. Good luck to them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they had the Cumberland County Cobras twice on the schedule. The first time the Cobras put a beating to them,
Yep.
and then the second time they got the best of them. So for me, that's the mark of a great organization. A team that can learn from their past mistakes,
Facts.
that can keep the team together after a loss like that,
Yeah.
go on to win every game, and then get that sweet revenge
Yeah.
going to the playoffs as a favorite, in my opinion, right now. So
Yeah. So I actually have played with or coached or played against a large number of guys on the Cobras. I really love one thing I really like about the Cobras is really not even the football. It's they started their organization with the whole mantra that they wanted to be more culture based because where they're based out of, there's a lot of young gun violence and stuff like that. And so, like, regardless if that's the league that's opposing us or whatever, I'm as a person that's saying I want the culture to be better. I have to support other entities that are doing what we're doing, and what they're doing is making the culture better. So, big, hats off to the Cobras, the dudes out there, both, ex teammates and whatever. I
yeah.
wish them nothing but success.
I mean, I got the Cobras. I got the Cobras at a 91 overall. So I got them slightly under the Kings. I think they're neck and neck. Honestly, I think it's on any given Saturday. The Owls, I got them at a 92, but that offense is really strong, in my opinion. It's the defense that lacks at times. They got a lot of talent. It's just at times you can see where they don't have the talent to like hold the hitman back, or the talent to hold the nose back.
Oh, okay.
At times, at other times during the game, it looks like they totally in control, and then at other times it seems like they let it slip away. So
Yeah. I don't. I'll say this: the Al situation. I can tell you, it's definitely not a talent thing. I think that when you put good talent together, sometimes it just clicks, and other times it takes a little bit of time to gel. Like a great comparison, in my opinion, the Owls are like the Heat big three their first year. Now, I'm not saying they had that same out, but like, remember the first year, it was like, you got Ron, you got Bob, so they got the talent. Is can they get it to click, especially now that the playoffs are here?
and the big
And
moment.
yeah, a lot of people don't know this, or people that do around here know. The Owls' success over the years has come not obviously great coaching with Lester Cream, and then you got smart players like Butch Dover. They had Jeff Campbell, who's one of my commissioners now. A guy named Jay Hornsby, great linebacker for them. But these guys have been playing together for a long time. There was a lot of good chemistry. So while they had great coaching, they had good chemistry, and they had like almost like field generals on the field.
Yeah.
So, I think that if they kind of get back to that formula, they'll be, you're going to see. Me personally, I know I'm biased. If the Owls are playing the Cobras or the Kings, I'm going heavy on the Owls. No disrespect to either of those other teams, like the Cobras or the Kings, but I'm taking that coaching staff and those players like heavy, like your babe get the tap the mat type heavy. So
Yeah, I heard you. And I don't necessarily disagree. And I think right now the hard part with the ratings is that it's hard because I haven't really gotten to the bad teams yet. But like, so this is a hot topic. I got the Herd at an 89 overall.
mm.
I
so
got 89.
so it's tough. So the Herd with their starting quarterback in true form, if they can get back to that as soon as because you know how it is, you come off an injury, maybe you're rusty, maybe your injury still. If their quarterback is on par and he's there, they got to be a 90 something in my book. But because of how they've been playing, I understand your ranking now. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that get on you about the rankings, but they have to understand is that nobody was doing it. Like that's listen, you and I have the same issue. Is like people are like, well, how come you can't do more? Do this? I'm like, oh damn! Before I came, wasn't nobody doing it? Like
Right.
you mad at how I'm doing something that wasn't even getting done before. So I tip my hat to you in doing that because when you are a trailblazer, you got to understand you're gonna take the lumps. It's part of the gig.
Yeah, man. And I try to tell people all the time, like, this is the stuff that I wanted to, have happen for me. I wanted people to talk about the leagues and compare my team to other teams and kind of big us all up and
Yeah.
find out like, oh, this guy
This
played at Arizona State and this
right.
guy played at Utah State and this guy played in
Mhm.
Syracuse and like we all on the same field together. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
kind of
You in your own way, you are making the culture better by doing this. So, take pride in that,
appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right, so the last one I want to talk about the unit. Now, the unit, I mean,
They frustrate
arguably
funny
arguably such
frustrating.
a terrible outcome to a season. They, in my opinion, they were a decision away from having a much better season. I think if they made a decision much earlier in the year and stuck with that decision, I think the team would have come together and they would have melted together. And I got
What
a real close buddy.
so what's the decision?
That's what I feel. I feel like the decision hindered the growth and
No, what's the
the
what
quarterback decision.
there you
Being
go.
so hesitant on the guy that leads your shit. You know what I'm saying? And when you hesitate on that guy, it
Yes.
creates all these other social problems, these little small microcosms, you know what I'm saying? And then you take a couple lumps on the head, and the next thing you know, the season's out of control. And I feel like I watched the game with the unit. I cannot remember who they were playing, but I started to watch the game, and it just to me, it didn't look like the unit. The nasty, aggressive
It,
flying around the
it's
field.
probably the Owls game because it was live streamed too.
I think it was the Owls game. I think it was the Owls game. And I to me, it just feels like they let this season get away from them. You know what I'm saying? But for me, knowing the talent they have and the level of coaching, the expertise they have, because I put a lot of time into learning them last year and
Mhm.
seeing what they have this year, I gave the unit a 90 overall. I actually said they were better than the herd. Now, granted, like you said, the herd with their starting quarterback, the way they started, probably a better team. Maybe on one side of the ball. I think definitely offensively. But that unit defense, man, is scary.
So I'll say this: the unit are a proven entity. Like they've never been, like a bottom tier team. They're always legit. I 100% agree. And as a commissioner, I can't be hands on or give advice, whatever. I just kind of have to watch and just enjoy the show like everybody else when it comes to personnel decisions and X's and O's and all that. Um, as a football fan watching them, you got a guy like Noel who, when he goes in there, he commands. This is crazy. Noel outplayed Dave LeGree when the unit played the Hitman. Now, obviously,
Wow.
Dave got the win and
Yeah.
Dave did what he needed to do. But if you look at the numbers and the production, Noel's game was better. But then the very next week, it's like, all right, now you got a different quarterback. Now you got Dame, and then you got Juan. Juan led them in their comeback win, actually against my team, the Knights, last year. That took them to the chip. He threw at
That's
least
my
one
guy.
touchdown. Yeah, so it's like I understand their dilemma. None of those
Yeah.
guys are bad. Like I know they take their lumps and people say, "Oh, this guy's whatever. This guy's whatever." I've seen all like they came back, they went down, and then he threw a couple strikes and had them in that Owls game. But then the Owls pulled away. But then in the second half, they make a change, and it's like it's tough. Like at this level, from my experience, multiple quarterback situations really only work if one of them is like your designated run read option type
Right.
guy, and the other guy is like your passer. Like if you have multiple guys with similar skill sets, it's really hard to kind of because, like you said, in the clubhouse you get like, oh, this is my guy. Well, no, that's my guy. And I'm not saying that's their situation. I'm just saying usually that's the dilemma you run into. So, I still think that with the pride factor there, with kind of having to regroup and I run a lot of the trash talking that they had to take after that Owls game. They're not out of the hunt yet.
Not at all.
You're in the playoffs. Everybody's 0-0. But the only thing is they're playing an Owls team that got humbled too. So both teams are gonna like nobody's coming into that game. Like this is this whatever. They both coming hungry. So
Yeah. Hopefully they understand it's playoff season. You got to pick a guy You got to go to practice.
Yeah.
You got to nail it down, get the chemistry right, and stick with that man to the end of the shit. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
You got without getting too intrusive, I would just say that if I was in a situation where I have multiple quarterbacks going into the playoffs, I would tell him today, I want him preparing all week like I'm the guy and I need to show up. And regardless, unless like the wheels fall off like completely, like 2-3 interceptions, whatever, like out the gate, like I'm sticking with my gun, ride or die type thing. That me personally, what I would do.
100%, 100%. So we're just gonna go rapid fire. I'm just gonna name off some teams and let you get a sense of where we're going with it. The
Okay.
Jackals, 88.
Hmm.
The New Jersey Militia, 82. Got the CT Lightning, 59, and the Maine Norsemen, 67.
So what do you have the hitman at? That's so I heard you see this is where it gets tricky. So, like you got a team like the Cobras and the Kings and the Herd at like a 90, I think you said.
The Herd was at 89.
Right.
The Kings was a 92, and the Cobras was a 91. In my opinion, we haven't gone through it yet, but
Yeah.
I would probably put the
Let me hear
Hitmen
you first.
somewhere around a 97,
Okay.
and it would be tilted to the offense. So the offense would probably be like a 98, and the defense would probably be like a 95, and I'd be like pushing to the higher side because that
Yeah.
finds a way to win.
And you know what though? So I hear you, but then you see if you go back and watch the Owls film. Now remember, the Owls offense was one of the hottest offense coming in. The biggest question mark and the biggest critique that the Hitmen took was that, and I agreed with it because I saw some games where guys was the secondary was not on par with the rest of the team. The Owls wide receiving core, it might be second to only the Seminoles, really, if we call a spade. And they didn't have any passing touchdowns. So it's like we said the defense was kind of, but they stepped up to the challenge.
That's my
And
thing.
yeah, so
I mean, if all right, granted, you might have a weak spot in the defense, but if you can never get the ball to that weak spot because the other spots are so strong, is it really a weak spot? You know,
yeah,
if you can't take advantage of it, and the only team that's been able to take advantage of it was the Knowles, but we understand why.
right.
That offensive line is so stout, man, and they smart and they work together. And then you got one of the most elusive, most tenured quarterbacks back there doing it with the guys that he knows. So it's going to be hard for him not to take advantage of the weak spot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
So I knew of G Block and I had seen clips and whatever, but I had never really seen him play till this year in person. And the crazy part, it was funny, is even one of the guys was like, yo, I think he's like 6'3", whatever. And then I saw him face to face. I was like, man, this guy like my height, maybe even like an inch shorter. I was like, man, yeah. But and he's not, I mean, he's he whatever, he looks like he's an in shape dude, whatever, without getting kind of funny with it. But like he doesn't, if you saw him without pads, you're not like, oh, this guy look like a guy that gets busy on everybody. Pause. But you look at the Soldiers play. And
yeah,
like you said, people are like, oh, Soldiers record, whatever. The Soldiers got some guys on defense. They got some guys that play football. This man running around, that looked like some old NFL blitz stuff where you just like, whatever, Tecmo Super Bowl type John. Crazy. I
yep.
was like, oh man.
I seen him do it against everybody. It don't matter if it's on the national scene, if it's against the rebels, if it's against the soldier. It really don't matter if you box him in a corner. The thing about G Block, and I was talking to somebody about this, is you'd be surprised at how strong he is.
Yeah.
And he moves with a smoothness. You know what I'm saying? He's never really trying to run too hard. And I think it lulls you to sleep. Like even blocking for him as a running back, like
Deceptively fast.
sometimes he juked me out trying to block for him because I went to jump in front of him, and the next thing I know, like he's over there. And I'm like, yo, what are you doing over there? But yeah, he's a dog, man. All right, so the last thing that we're gonna talk about briefly, let's try to keep it to like 5 minutes. Let you reclaim some of your night.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think about an NFL style, big, large, good circumference area, maybe some, you know, profitability there for players, for coaches? What do you think about a paid NFL style league? Like bigger picture. What do you think about it?
You talking about where the players are paid?
Yep. Even if it's a small incremental, I mean, we talking like even if guys are getting $100 a game.
So I'm a player commissioner, I guess, or player owner, however you look at it. So I'm going to support any situation that they're doing better. With that said, and being in touch with reality, we need to get to a point where the league can even fund itself with revenue before we get to the point where what we're going to do with extra revenue to kick it back out. Like, it would be like saying like, all right, cool, I want to go buy a nice set of rims and you don't even own a car yet.
Right.
Do I think that if everyone at this level could change their perception, their behavior, their approach to the game and this level of football, could it be perceived by outsiders differently? Yes. But we have to be real with ourselves and understand who is the majority of the people that play at this level. Why are they playing at this level in the first place? So I think that a better and a more realistic goal, and it happens now on certain teams, would be to get it to the point where we can present a league and not just at an individual team, a league-wide level where players, as long as they maintain whatever the standard is, like you have to go to X amount of practices, you have to do this, you have to abide by this player code, that we can eliminate the cost for players, where it's not a pay-to-play league, but it's also not a we're not paying you yet. I think that's a more realistic goal. And there's teams that, because they have people at the top that either are financially, independent or whatever, well off, or they have good funding or, whatever it may be, that they have that ability. And I think that those are the people I try to rub elbows with and kind of find, like, how are you doing what you do? How do you get there? Like, a smart man wants to be the dumbest one in the room, because that means he can pick that intelligence and that information from the people around him. If you're the smartest person in the room, what are you gaining from that? So, I think that if, as owners, and that's a big reason how we do it real quick, is I want my other owners that do good business to be open so we can all learn. I'm not too proud to be like, I run the show, so I'm the best businessman. Like, no, I know that this guy is doing something good. Teach me. I want to learn.
Heard you.
Yeah.
So I was gonna save that question for the end, but I guess I'll ask you really quickly, since you said something that I think is step one, is ground zero, changing the approach on a large scale to our level, right?
Mhm.
And separating minor league from semi-pro, because I think there is a market for semi-pro football. I think there is a market for adult recreational padded football. But I think right now you have some of that mixed in with some serious competitors, and you got it mixed in with some guys who are looking to get back into school, and you got it mixed in with some guys that are professionals, arena guys, overseas guys. You got it all mixed into one melting pot right now, trying to separate the oil from the water. What do you think about a players association, a players union, whatever you want to call it, something that forces guys to abide by a standard, but it's something that's optional that they get to choose to be a part of?
So I'm not against, like I said, I'm like I said, I'm pro player. I'm not against them doing any of that. Now, they said they were going to do it in my league, and it never really materialized. Maybe for year two it will. But the real answer to your real question is that leagues, and again, I don't like. This is me just speaking about what I see. I'm not in like picking any independent leagues, but leagues have. If you want to be a minor league football league, I know it's kind of like it's redundant, but I think you have to have a standard where it's not just how many teams can we get, and it has to be the quality of the teams. Like, so I see people coming at these leagues like, oh, they only got 4 people, four teams, they only got 3 teams, and I'm not saying that that's ideal. We all know it's not, but I respect the league that says I'm going to stand on my moral ground and my standards and run a 4-team league that's good, than run a 12-team league or something like that, and dudes are forfeiting every week, mismatched helmets, they're just taking teams to be taking them just to, whatever, for whatever reason. So I think that, and I said this publicly, the answer is not one big league. Like, I love your NFL idea. I love it if we can build to that. But the answer is one standard. Like,
Right.
and I'm not saying that the Den has to be it, but I'm just trying to show, other leagues, hey, this can be done. You don't have to do it my way. But like, I don't like after this year, if you don't have stats and you don't have film, because of what's happened now, people are gonna be like, well, hold on.
It's possible.
It's possible. And
Yeah.
so my biggest goal when I said to change the culture was to raise the standard. That was step one. So I want the players to expect more from their leagues. But with that, you know how it is. You start getting more, you got to give more. So hopefully we can kind of raise the bar together and be like, all right, we giving you stat films, all-star game, boom. We need you to start showing up to more practices, start taking them more seriously. Watch film, work on your craft. So that's what would be ideal.
Right. So the last couple of things is, we've seen something similar to the Den before, the MLF, the MLF Elite, right? The GDFL, GDFA. We've seen these leagues that are the precipice of what we aim for. One of the things that I heard recently was that the GDFL works in such a way as almost like a franchise. And if you want to bring the GDFL to your region, one of the requirements is that you need to have a certain amount of teams in your region. I thought about that. I said, okay, I remember a few years ago that the MLF had an issue because they had expanded down the East Coast. And one of the problems that they had was there was a particular area where all the teams folded. And they folded because they couldn't travel anymore. They were traveling too far and they couldn't afford it. So my idea was, what if we do a big league, but we already have a system that's working where we got these leagues with these pockets of teams in a general area. And it reminds me of the NCAA with the conferences, like-minded teams in like-minded areas that do similar things. So what if the leagues became divisions and they all work together? The league owners own their division. They nominated commissioners, like a guy like you would be nominated commissioner of the national conference, and all the divisions now report to you. You know what I'm saying? And then you guys all nominate a president, and then work at that. Like what is that? Does that start turning gears in your head? Does that sound like something that could work?
I love the forward thinkingness of it, but it's again, this is like the wheels before the car, and the biggest hurdle is that there's a lot of egos, a lot of
God, you said the word.
a lot of difference. Like but you listen. I don't knock you. You can't knock these men. Like, they built great things in their own right, and like some people run leagues because they want to be in charge, and they're in charge in their day life, and they like operating there. I generally run the Den because I want to see great things at this level. Like, I know what it's like. It's there. Like, so like when people are like, "Yo, Slip killing it," I'm like, "Oh, the Den is killing it because of X, Y, Z, Howard, commissioners, great owners." I mean, I welcome the praise. I'm not shy, but not everybody is going to move in the same time, and that's no knock to them. They don't have to move whatever. Like, there's a lot of people that go, "Oh, well, Slip's too mixy. He does this." I do things my own way, but the problem with the conferences is that, and using your own analogy, is even with the different conferences, the NCAA has a standard. So you can run your conference, and your conference can be like, the SEC is the staple, but it runs different. It makes a little more money, whatever. But because there is a standard that you must do, it works. Until we get that standard and everyone accepts, like, every game has to be filmed. There has to be legitimate stats for every game. There has to be a uniform policy that everyone adheres to. Until you can get standard across the board, it's never gonna look, So I love the idea. I don't want to knock it, but it's like that's like a 5-6 year, you know, type thing with other people progressing, you know, with us, and we do it together.
And that's the idea. That's why, like, I was so excited to get you on the show because I think a lot of people are disconnected from
Reality.
how far the process has to go.
Yeah.
They don't. They see a big task at hand, but they don't really understand that this is a long term goal. Like, I'm not going to see this in my career. I will be done. I will be coaching by the time that this becomes a reality. But for me, I'm tired of seeing guys like G Block. I'm tired of seeing guys like Arthur Perone in your league. I'm tired of seeing guys like Malik Williamson in my league.
Oh yeah.
These are really talented guys that are playing football at a really high level, and there's nothing coming from it. There's not even people watching them,
They
seeing
don't,
it.
they don't even know they exist. Right.
Nobody even knows it exists. And they're football fans. If they sat down and they watched, like I watched the Owls Hitman game for perspective going into the Den playoffs. That was a great matchup. We needed that.
Great. Yep.
But 5 minutes in, I was like locked into my screen because I'm like, this is good football. Yo, like dudes is flying around the place. We got a quarterback battle. We got great commentating.
Right.
It's a beautiful facility. I wasn't there and it was a beautiful facility.
Beautiful.
I mean, I'm like, this is the jerseys was immaculate. I'm like, this is everything that you want in a football game, like regardless of the level. Like I watched this before I turn on the
Right.
NFL.
Right.
And we're losing that. So I'm hoping that just having these conversations will start to help people understand where it could be, what it takes to get there.
Mhm.
You know, leagues like the Den paving the way. You know what I'm saying? And if we have enough of these conversations, hopefully maybe we inspire enough of those people who have the egos to put the ego down because you're gonna be a bigger dog if this becomes a reality. You're gonna be a big dog if this becomes a reality. Right now you're a small dog. You know? So
And it's gonna be as far as we as a culture let it go. Yeah, I'll be real with you.
that's a fact. That's a fact. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time to
Mhm.
hop on the show. Let us know what's going on in the Den, what's coming in
Yeah.
the future. Just explaining. I got so much love and appreciation for you because I love football. And when I had my car accident, it took me out of college. Like I lost a piece of me, and this level was able to give that piece of me back. And ever since I started playing minor league football, a lot of other things in my life have gone better because I think we can all agree that you don't do this because you want to do this. You do this because something calls you to do this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
It's
Big
something
facts. Big facts.
it's something deep, deep inside you that puts you on that field. You know what I'm saying? The work that it takes to prepare and everything that it takes to show up every week. So, I appreciate guys like you. And if nobody says it, man, you're doing something great for a lot of people. So,
I appreciate that, man. I really do. And keep doing what you're doing. Because like I told you before, what you're doing is helping the culture in your own way. Like it's gonna take more than just, one old dude with some bad knees, and a polo to make this great. It's gonna take a lot more than that, so
definitely,
I
definitely.
appreciate
Well,
you.
listen, I'm definitely going to ask you to come back on the show because there's so many more things that I want to ask you and talk to you about. You
I'll
got
be
the
around.
mind of the winner, you know what I'm saying?
I'm
So we
around.
definitely got to pick that brain some more. But for tonight, man, we appreciate you and enjoy the rest of your night, man.
Same, man. I'll catch you.
All right, take care. Hey, listen, you too. Thank you guys for coming out tonight and just giving us your attention and just being a part of this. Like Slip said, this is for the culture. This is for the guys out there who just love football and just inspired, you know what I'm saying, and not done with it. Whatever lies in their future, whether it's a championship at the minor league level or championship at the NFL level, whatever lies in their future, they still out there balling. Just want to bring that to you guys and just want to be a part of it, So we appreciate y'all. Mike couldn't make it on. He has something to do with work, but you're definitely going to see him. Listen, Friday, you got the 60 for 60 show. It's crazy. I'm going to drop some news. It's going to be awesome. But listen, thank you guys so much for coming out. Can't wait to see you. We're doing 2 interviews back to back. I'm going to drop the news on that. Next week, we're going to do Jim Harmon, owner of the ECFL, getting the commissioners out the way. So appreciate you guys so much and see y'all at the 50. Take care.